From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your MTN Noon News this Thursday. I'm Charlie Klepps. Let's get right to our top story, which takes us to Lincoln County. A man is facing a negligent homicide charge after his 3-year-old son was shot and killed Tuesday south of Libby. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office reports deputies responded to a home on Granite Creek Road just after 10 a.m. for a report of a child who accidentally had been shot. The child was taken to the hospital where he later died. The child's father, 24-year-old Timothy Moore, has been charged with negligent homicide. He's being held on a $500,000 bond. Law enforcement continues to investigate a homicide in Hill County. It happened Friday night in Hingham, about 35 miles east of Havre. The Hill County Sheriff's Office reported a suspect was arrested and charged, but they're still on the lookout for the weapon used. MTN's Anissa Coomer has more on the 39-year-old victim, whose death has rocked this quiet Highline community.
As new details emerge regarding the murder of Hingham resident Tiffany Nihoff last week, those who knew her remember her fondly as a hardworking and kind-hearted mother.
Just a really good-hearted person, would do anything for you.
Chris Lonergan has been working at Pa's Loma Mart in Loma for over a decade.
Tiffany used to live right in that house, that silver house right there. Her and her family.
Which is right across the street from where Tiffany lived prior to moving to Hingham, and right by Ma's Loma Cafe, where Tiffany worked as a waitress. Over the years, the two became good friends.
Just a big-hearted, great person. Did the best she could in life, and did a great job of being a mom and everything.
The pair would continue to visit each other even after Tiffany left Loma to move up to the Highline.
And then she moved on to Havre, and every time she stopped by, we'd visit and say, "Oh, hey, I love you," when she left. You know, we're just good friends.
In just the last few years, Tiffany moved to Hingham, working as a waitress in Havre at Char's Family Dining and at Guadalajara's. The restaurants declined an on-camera interview, but one of Tiffany's former colleagues said in a statement to MTN, "She was a very hardworking woman. She worked 2 jobs to support her family. She was a beautiful person inside and out and very into her belief in God. She would help anybody if she could."
For the residents of Hingham, they see a loss of a hardworking woman who was just getting integrated into her new community.
She had a great sense of humor.
Mike Spencer owns the only bar and grill in town and says Tiffany, new to the community, would stop in from time to time to visit.
That's how I was getting to know her. I think that's why I'm a little upset, is I didn't get to know her as well and a lot of the people around here.
During her visits, Mike says Tiffany was getting closer with employees at the restaurant and was even making plans to attend church with one of the staff members.
We found she very religious and very nice to our staff, and would sit and visit for a little bit and then be gone.
As her friends and family grieve her loss, so does the community she touched.
She was such a wonderful lady when she came in. We're gonna miss her.
Hey, a lot of people love Tiffany. They know her. And I'm not kidding you. Great person. I'm really sad about this.
For MTN News, I'm Anissa Coomer.
Red shaded areas mean warmer than average temperatures heading into tomorrow, and especially Saturday region-wide. Sunday, we start to see the cooler air move into western Montana, at least pushing back to closer to the average, but still warm across the eastern plains. But by the time we start getting into the early part of next week, the blue shaded areas show that we expect cooler than average conditions. As far as precipitation, tomorrow we'll look for showers at least through central and western Montana, but watch as we go through the weekend and early next week. Quiet Saturday. By Sunday into Monday, we're looking at a 50 to 90% chance of rain. Details coming up.
Now time for today's leading look as we take a look at some of the other stories making headlines across Montana. We are following another deadly crash in Billings. Police say they are investigating a crash between a vehicle and a bicyclist in West Billings that ended in 1 dead. Officers say the crash happened on Grand Avenue at 46th Street West at around 9:40 last night, and that one person involved was on a pedal bike. The road was closed in that area this morning, and detectives are investigating what happened. It is not yet clear who died or when the road will be back open. And the number of measles cases in Montana is slowly increasing. The Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services says there have been 11 known cases of the highly infectious disease since April. That's when Gallatin County reported the first measles cases in the state since the 1990s. Since then, Gallatin County has reported a total of 9 cases, with the most recent being an adult. Flathead County in northwest Montana and Hill County on the High Line have each reported 1 case of the disease. In Hill County, the case involves a child who was not vaccinated. 3 Montana National Guardsmen pleaded not guilty Wednesday to misdemeanor charges of criminal trespassing. Those charges were filed a few weeks ago by Montana's Fish, Wildlife and Parks. It comes after a unique case where they allegedly landed a Montana National Guard helicopter on private land and then stole elk antlers. MTN's David J. was in the courtroom and has the latest on where things stand now and the process moving forward.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
All 3 guardsmen pleaded not guilty to misdemeanor criminal trespass to property. Michael Bray, Denny Draper, and Perry Woodland, along with their lawyers, appeared in Sweetgrass County Justice Court on Wednesday.
Stay in contact with your attorney weekly and keep working. Notify the court if your address changes. Obey all laws. Have no contact with the alleged victim or any witnesses.
The Fish, Wildlife and Parks citations for each state: subject entered private property for purpose of antler retrieval. Subject landed military helicopter on private property. Landowner Linda McMullen previously said she was not home when neighbors noticed a Montana National Guard helicopter landing on her ranch in the Crazy Mountain foothills of Sweetgrass County. The men allegedly took elk antlers from that land, but so far no charges have been filed related to theft.
For misdemeanor criminal trespass, the maximum fine could be $500. Maximum jail could be 6 months.
Justice of the Peace Jesse Connolly also read a new law, House Bill 354, that Governor Gianforte signed into law on May 5th.
If anyone is trespassing on property, regardless of ownership, for hunting, fishing, trapping, or collecting or attempting to collect antlers, antler sheds, or animal horns, then their privileges to hunt, fish, and trap in this state could be revoked for 24 months.
But the judge says the law will not take effect until October 1st. It will not apply to Bray, Draper, and Woodland.
But I just thought it was important that they hear in the future what could be added to the penalty.
Each of the guardsmen appeared by Zoom on that monitor. There's no bond, but the judge is requiring them to come back to Sweetgrass County for fingerprinting sometime between now and July 24th, when they'll have their next court appearance to determine what will happen next. In Big Timber, David J., MTN News.
In 2026, judicial elections in Montana will be nonpartisan, as they have been for decades after proposals to change the system failed to pass the legislature. And now a group has formed seeking to ask voters whether they want to keep the elections nonpartisan by amending the state constitution. Pepper Peterson is political director for the newly formed Montanans for Fair and Impartial Judges. He says they're starting discussions about putting a constitutional amendment guaranteeing nonpartisan judge elections in front of voters next year. If it passes, it would stop the legislature from introducing party labels without another amendment.
It doesn't matter what political party. Political parties should not be determining how our judiciary is run. The Montana State Constitution should be the one and only document and the one and only driving force behind the loyalties for judicial candidates.
The group is beginning to put together ballot language and will need to gather at least 60,000 signatures from Montana voters. Opponents of the current system argue there's already politics in these races and say keeping nonpartisan elections hides information from the voters. If this proposal is going to make the 2026 ballot, the deadline to gather signatures will be next summer. If you've been concerned with recent federal policy changes and you want to talk about it, good news. As MTN's Cassidy Powers reports, a community-led town hall where participants will be discussing just that this weekend.
For some folks, it may seem like the chatter surrounding DOGE cuts and federal policy changes is winding down. But for others, that conversation is just ramping up. In fact, one local resident recently decided it's time to take action.
My concern is that people won't really start paying attention and being proactive about this until it's too late.
Trey Elvey may look like your average Bozemanite, but during the summer months, he spends his time chasing hurricanes down south as an atmospheric scientist.
A lot of the research that I do goes directly into the forecast and into the weather models. And then there's also the research component of it, right? We're always trying to better understand these storms and just weather phenomenon in general.
But funding for Trey's research and many other scientists.
This is funding that comes from federal agencies like National Science Foundation, NASA, and NOAA. But a lot of this is grant money. And so a lot of those grants are actually being cut.
Which is one of the reasons Trey is independently organizing a nonpartisan town hall to discuss the local impact of recent federal policy changes. And you may be thinking, we don't get hurricanes in Montana, so why should we care?
The bigger issue for Montana is winter storms. I mean, that's the number one thing I hate more than anything else, is having news reports that say somebody lost their life because they were driving too fast in winter conditions.
Our chief meteorologist Mike Hurd tells me between Montana's snow, wildfires, and agriculture industry, being able to predict the forecast accurately is vital.
Don't be feeble-minded about things that are important that save lives. This is what is meant to save lives. The Weather Service saves lives, and that's our main goal.
Research defunding is one of many topics on the agenda for this weekend's town hall. Trey tells me there's a number of speakers attending, including local business owners, nonprofit leaders, as well as Deputy Mayor Joey Morrison. Trey's hopes for this town hall, for everyone in the community, no matter your political stance, to come make your voice heard.
This is a great opportunity for all in the community to better understand how federal policies are impacting our local community. So whether that's things like tariffs, budget, funding cuts, immigration issues, whatever it is, we want to talk about it.
This town hall will be at the Gallatin County Fairgrounds this Saturday. For more information, visit our website. In Bozeman, Cassidy Powers, MTN News.